At dawn, during a moment of prayer, tragedy struck Gaza once again. The serene morning was shattered by the sound of explosions, leaving the community in shock and despair. An Israeli airstrike demolished a school and mosque, both serving as shelters for displaced Palestinians. These buildings, once places of refuge and worship, were reduced to rubble in an instant. The devastating attack claimed the lives of at least 90 people. Families are left grieving, searching for their loved ones amidst the debris, as rescue workers tirelessly work to recover bodies. Rescue workers described scenes of unimaginable horror. The cries of the injured and the sight of lifeless bodies have left an indelible mark on those who witnessed the aftermath. The Gaza Civil Defense reported significant destruction, with many victims still unidentified. The scale of the devastation has overwhelmed the local emergency services, who are struggling to cope with the sheer number of casualties. The high number of civilian casualties, including women and children, has sparked international outrage. Protests have erupted around the world, demanding justice and an end to the violence. Israel confirmed the strike, alleging it targeted a Hamas command center operating within the school. They claim that the location was being used for military purposes, justifying their actions as a necessary measure. However, Hamas denies these claims, calling the attack a heinous massacre. They argue that the school and mosque were purely civilian structures, and the attack was an unjustifiable act of aggression. The UN and various countries have condemned the strike, labeling it a violation of international law. Calls for accountability and an independent investigation into the incident are growing louder. The United States expressed deep concern and urged all parties to minimize civilian harm. They emphasized the need for restraint and the protection of innocent lives in the conflict. International mediators are working tirelessly to de-escalate the situation and negotiate a ceasefire. Diplomatic efforts are intensifying, with hopes of bringing both sides to the negotiating table. The attack on the school and mosque further complicates the already tense situation in Gaza. The cycle of violence and retaliation seems unending, with each side blaming the other for the escalation. Calls for an independent investigation into potential war crimes by both sides have intensified. Legal experts and human rights organizations are demanding accountability for the actions taken during the conflict. This strike is part of a broader pattern of Israeli military actions in Gaza, resulting in significant civilian casualties and widespread displacement. The ongoing conflict has left thousands of Palestinians homeless and in dire need of assistance. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is worsening, with thousands of Palestinians seeking refuge in overcrowded shelters. The lack of basic necessities such as food, water, and medical supplies is exacerbating the suffering of the displaced population. The US has called for a ceasefire to allow for the delivery of humanitarian aid and the release of hostages held by Hamas. They stress the importance of ensuring that aid reaches those in need without delay. However, previous ceasefires have been short-lived, and a lasting solution remains elusive. The fragile truces often break down, leading to renewed violence and further loss of life. Despite the ongoing violence, hope for peace persists. Peace activists and ordinary citizens continue to advocate for an end to the conflict, believing that dialogue and understanding can pave the way for a better future. International mediators are striving to facilitate dialogue between Israel and Hamas, while aid organizations work to provide essential supplies and medical care. Their efforts are crucial in alleviating the suffering of those affected by the conflict. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for an end to the conflict and a peaceful resolution for the people of Gaza. The international community remains deeply concerned, urging all parties to prioritize peace and the well-being of civilians.